Welcome in to House of Horns. My name is Victor Corona, aka Victor Producer, and joining me live from the Combine, somewhere in a hotel room down in Indianapolis, we got Gilbert Manzano, who does it for Sports Illustrated MMQB. And Gilbert, what's been the biggest takeaway so far? We'll get into everything that has to do with the Rams, everything that's happened since they lost in the NFC title game to the Seahawks. But I just want to get your thoughts here on day one of the scouting combine. What's been kind of your takeaway since you've been down there in Indy? And is have you how much of a how cold are you right now? And did your experience down in Iceland prepare you for the weather down in Indianapolis this week?
No, not at all. Iceland was actually very kind to me. I think they knew that I was coming in from California, and I got maybe like I think the lowest I got. It was the last day when I left. I got to maybe 29 degrees, but there was like no wind, chill. Most of the week was like 40, so that was good. And I get to Indy here, and it's like low 20s with the wind chill that makes it feel like it's I don't know 10, 8 degrees. So it's pretty bad, and I've been complaining this whole 24 hours. Adam Hill has heard me complain. Eric Williams has heard me complain. Yeah, I've actually been seeing a lot of reporters who are compas, friends of the show, and they've all heard me complain. And then I wrote it in my story at si.com where I complained for the first 200 words about the weather. And then I'm like, am I a jerk for complaining because there's a blizzard in the East Coast? There's like a
Yep.
whole massive snow quake, whatever you want to call it, avalanche in Boston. I'm over here complaining, so I should shut up.
Yeah, no, I thought about you when I saw the weather down in Indy, and I did hear from a couple of people who have been going there routinely now for the last few years how you never know what you're gonna get when you get it with the weather when you get to Indy.
Yeah,
So
I was asking Vic, is this normal? 'Cause I've only gone maybe to the combine 4 times, and it's never back to back. I've noticed. I think I go every other year, and I think there was one year where it was cold, but this is the worst. And I think some people have told me this is pretty bad compared to most years.
yeah, so getting into in terms of what you were at a bunch of podiums today. What's been like your takeaway? I know I saw you were at the Ben Johnson, the coach for the Bears. It's pretty much was the GMs and the coach. Some coaches spoke today. So for you, I guess what was the big thing, and do you actually get anything out of this from the coaches or the GMs when they speak?
Yeah. So again, I don't come back to back years, so I forget. And like the day one, I'm like, cool. I get to see all these coaches, all these GMs. Like it's gonna be a fun day of interviews, and then you hear the first person talk, and the second person, and the third, and it's like they can't say anything. And put it this way, it was so dumb that the interview session with the Raiders GM John Spytek, who obviously we all know they're going to take Fernando Mendoza. They have the number one pick, and it was like, who's that guy from Harry Potter? Voldemort. There you go, Vic.
Yeah,
Uh,
Baltimore.
you can't even name Fernando Mendoza. It's like
Yeah,
you should not name his name. Let's not talk
yeah,
about Fernando. And
yeah,
there were like reporters trying to say like, if you were taking a quarterback, if you wanted one, would it be like a clean cut guy, maybe a guy who won a national title? I'm like, what the hell are we doing? Just say, does Fernando Mendoza fit for what you're looking for? And obviously people don't want to say that, and John can't even acknowledge that. I think he mentioned that he hasn't even spoken to Fernando because they don't speak to players until I think Wednesday or Thursday of this week. They get them for the first time in a room, 18-minute interviews, former interviews, and to make a Rams head trick, the Rams don't care about the 18-minute interviews. You get them on Zoom later on. So
yep.
all these rules are unique. They're kind of silly. So yeah, it's kind of a reminder of what are we doing here if they're not going to speak. But you got some news items like I was the last one that I was at right now was Sean Payton was talking, and he gave up play calling for the first
Yep.
time in his career to Davis Webb, who was in the running for a lot of head coaching jobs, and to keep him happy, he said, here you go, play calling jobs. That's an easy one that you could give away as news. That's in-house coaching staff, not player related. Uh, Nick Casario, the GM of the Texans, he told reporters that trading CJ Stroud will be moronic. And I kind of agree, not fully. He has been struggling, but you have a quarterback on a rookie contract. You have the best defense in football. We saw Sam Darnold win a Super Bowl. Why not just keep the guy, keep growing? I get that. Jeff Hafley and the new GM of the Dolphins were talking about Tua. So there are some new news items. The one that made me laugh was who's going to start Andrew Berry on February 24th? Shadur Sanders or Deshaun Watson? And he could have told that guy to F off, but he said, it's February 24th. I don't have to name the starters, so I won't today. So things like that.
Yeah, and I mean, there's not a lot to talk about, and I'm glad I asked you because I was gonna segue right into the Rams here, where they don't come to these things, and they've kind of made it a thing now with a lot of the, we call them the hipster coaches and the hipster GMs. They're not going. The Jaguars, who they have the GM, the former assistant GM of the Rams, who's now with the Jaguars, and Liam Cohen. They're not attending either, so it's become kind of a thing with the Rams where they don't attend, they don't want to give away anything, and there's not much you can do when you're Sean McVay and Les Need. As you talked about, they're gonna get these guys on a Zoom. They can see everything on TV. It sucks when you're a local reporter. I'm sure a lot of the B reporters aren't even out there for that same reason because they know that if they need to get a hold of Les Need or Sean McVay, they're gonna, do so via Zoom, from Woodland Hills. So yeah, I wanted to ask you just to see what the feel was there at the combine, but I doubt we get much of the news, and much of the news is coming out from the beat reporters who are here locally because I don't think any of them travel to Indianapolis.
Yeah, and for this week, I'm not even sure what's really going on with the Rams besides the rule proposals. There was some news that happened the last few weeks, but at the combine, they're usually very quiet. But they are. I do like the player stuff when the players hit the podium, which is tomorrow, Wednesday,
Yep.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Like we all want to get to know the players. They're trying to showcase themselves. So there's some very informative interviews, and it's kind of like what we did at Radio Row for the boxing event, where you're getting to know some of these up and coming fighters. Same thing in the NFL world. Get to know some of these prospects that want to go from day 3 picks to day 2 or the back end of the first round. So from that standpoint, it's beneficial to get to know these players. But yeah, from the Rams, like you get them, on the Zoom. If you really like these players, they'll come to LA for in-house visits. So there's really no benefit here for as a reporter. You get to mingle with some GMs, some scouts, some players, and it's like a hub, a convention center. It's funny because every year at the Indiana Convention Center, there are 2 conventions going on. Then the NFL one, the football one, and then some random thing you never heard of. This year it's the safety and health convention. So I don't know. That's very vague to me. It's kind of broad, I guess is a better word. Safety and health convention. So if you're interested in safety and health, you should be in Indianapolis right now.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm glad you're there and you're able to go and talk to the players the next couple of days because the Rams have 2 first-round picks. It'll be interesting what happens with number 13. I am very intrigued. I know we've talked about it. I think we both said that we expect the Rams, if they keep the number 13 pick, that it'll be an offensive player. And with that said, Gilbert, the Rams have 10 of 11 starters coming back. One of those starters is because that won't be back is because he retired, and that is Rob Havenstein, the right tackle, announced his retirement. He was the last remaining player from the St. Louis Rams days. Just wanted to get your thoughts on his retirement. He didn't play like once he got hurt, and McClendon Jr. pretty much took over for him. I think the writing was on the wall for Rob Havenstein. He was a veteran presence, and as Leslie said, he was, I guess an example of what they want a Rams player to be going forward, especially along the offensive line.
Yeah, I'm not too surprised. He was getting up there in years, and injuries were adding up, and he had the shoulder surgeries, multiple shoulder surgeries. There you go. Last off season, so it's the wear and tear adds up. He already won a Super Bowl. He's been there since St. Louis days, so that's a long career for Rob Havenstein. I got to know him when I covered the team. He's a great captain. Great ambassador for the team. Always spoke when things went well or bad, was always willing to face the music and speak for his team. Very honest. So I'm sure reporters are going to miss talking to Rob Havenstein, but on the field, he was just dependable, reliable. I know he had some injuries towards those final years, but you don't last that long in the NFL if you're not reliable and consistent and productive, if you're not contributing in some kind of way, and he contributed in various fashions for the Rams here. So it's going to be hard to replace him. I know they got McClendon, who played well. I don't know if he played well enough to be given the starting job right away. I think they should open up a competition. And
Yeah.
on the bright side for the Rams, there's very good tackles. There's not, Tristan Wirfs, Joe Alt, Penei Sewell type of tackles,
Mm-hmm.
but they are some very polished tackles who happen to also play on the right side. I think nowadays, both in the pro game and the college game, it doesn't matter if you're a left or right tackle. Before, it was like, if you're a left tackle, you're better, so you're going on that side. Now you could be a stud on the right side. Penei Sewell, for example, Tristan Wirfs started off as a right tackle. So the Rams, potentially on the right tackle because Jackson plays on the left side. I think that could be a benefit because there are so many good right tackles in this draft class. Again, they're not considered to be, out of this world special tackles. But if you get one, say, with that first pick you mentioned, I would not be mad at that for the Rams to get a right tackle. You can never go wrong with going O-line. But obviously, we know that Sean McVay loves his gadget players. But who knows? Maybe they go defense too. They need a DB, but they have 2 draft picks to figure it out. So they're okay on that standpoint. But it's going to be an adjustment without Rob Havenstein.
Yeah, and I mean he was a big fixture. And before people come at me and tell me, well, there's still the long snapper. He came back this year, Jake McQuaid. He was another original Ram, but he's a long snapper, and
But
he kind
he
of
hasn't
left
been
and
on
came
the
back.
team that long. He just got
Right. Yeah. I mean, technically he's still on the team. So I'll leave it at that because there's always people that will be in the comments letting us know, like, well, technically there's still somebody left from the Rams of the St. Louis Rams days. So I wanted to make sure that I gave Jake McQuaid his also his due there. But in terms of Rob Havenstein, the veteran leadership is going to be huge. And then having Ryan Wendell, the offensive line coach there, I think the way they look for certain guys, there's Rams guys that they look for in the draft. So I would expect them to find some guys in the middle of the rounds. I mean, look, Alaric Jackson was a free agent signing, so they're gonna find guys out there, and so I would not be surprised, Gilbert, if they load up on offensive linemen in those middle rounds. Because that's what you should do. Like just the way I've always talked about quarterbacks. Like if you're a team, you should draft a quarterback every other year just to develop a quarterback, just in case anything happens to your starter. I feel the same way about the offensive line and the defensive line. In those middle rounds, you should be loading up on offensive linemen and defensive linemen.
Yeah, and I know we got all off season to talk about this,
Yep.
but I know the O line was serviceable. They were good enough. They weren't like elite. They were, I want to say, a little above average, but you could even make a case for having to replace Steve Avila, to replace Coleman Shelton, the center. Like, you don't have locked and loaded starters at all 5 positions besides Jackson and then Kevin Dotson. So O line is going to be very, very, very critical this year, especially now that it seems like Stafford's going to be back. And when you have an aging quarterback who's not as mobile, you better protect them well.
Yeah, and I'm with you. We have a comment here, says from Ram has 102. What up, guys? Go Rams. So good to see people in the
Yeah.
comments already. Don't be afraid here. Let us know. Give us your thoughts on the offseason so far for the Rams. And as we move along here, Gilbert, I'm gonna go quick here. The Rams announced they finalized their coaching staff for 2026. Kliff Kingsbury will be the assistant head coach. Nathan Shieldhouse is the offensive coordinator. There will be no passing game coordinator this year. Former Eagles OC Brian Johnson appears to have joined the LA coaching staff as a senior offensive assistant. He spent the past 2 seasons as a Washington assistant head coach and pass game coordinator. Dave Rigoni is listed as the Rams associate coordinator slash QBs. The Rams also hire Robert Woods as their assistant wide receivers coach shortly after he retired as a Rams player. The Rams signed him to sign Robert Woods to a 1-day contract to retire as a Ram. So he joins the coaching staff as well. And then one more item here, Gilbert, and I thought this is very eye popping for me. Aubrey Pleasant is no longer listed as a member of the coaching staff. Jimmy Lake will take over as a defensive backs coach and passing game coordinator for the defense. So I thought that was kind of eye opening. The fact that Aubrey Pleasant, who's been he's been praised for what he's done. He was also the coach during the preseason for that last preseason game against the Chargers. So the fact that he's not listed on this coaching staff to me means that he's no longer with the team, which is very eye opening, especially with how we saw that what we saw from the corners this year and the fact that they struggled a lot.
Yeah, I think in terms of Aubrey, it's tough because like his position or what he's coaching has struggled. Not just with the Rams, they struggled with the Detroit Lions. So he's been the pass game coordinator or the DB's coach, and it's a weird mix because he's a very vocal leader. You see head coaching traits. But it's hard to make a case when the position that you are overseeing is struggling, and the secondary did struggle. Obviously people are very high on Chris Shula, and maybe there was something there where they didn't see eye to eye, or maybe it's, again, I'm just guessing here. Maybe Aubrey didn't see a path to being a coordinator or being, more than just what he's been doing. Like, I know he got the tag of the assistant head coach, but what does that really mean at the end of the day? It gets you nowhere when it comes to being a head coach because it's not assistant head coach, it's coordinator. That's what people want to see for you to elevate. So there could be some of that where there's no path to move up when you make Chris Shula the guy. And I just thought about it too, because when they hired Chris Shula, they also bypassed Eric Henderson, the D-line coach who was beloved by Aaron Donald. So he went and he left and he went to USC. And he just came back to the NFL ranks. He's coaching with the Commanders now. So there's a lot of that where you don't see an avenue. So you say, you know what, I'm going to step back here and I'll go somewhere where it's an easier path for me to be a coordinator or whatnot. So it could be that, or it could just be like, hey, man, your position didn't do well. The group you were overseeing struggled. He got fired or made the scapegoat, whatever you want to call it, in Detroit when Aaron Glenn's defense was struggling. They pointed the blame at Aubrey Pleasant. So there could be maybe a little bit of both of that. So that is a little bit of a strange one because Sean McVay has spoken very highly of him. He has given him play calling duties in the preseason. He's given him head coaching duties in the preseason. It's just, you got to have the position that you're overseeing has to be playing well. And that did not happen last year or the year before that and the year before that. Ever since that Super Bowl team, this has not been a good secondary, as I mentioned many, many times on the show here. I think with the Rams this time of year, they have a lot of coaching news because people, come and go or they get promoted elsewhere. And, keeping Nate Shieldhouse was a big move, him being promoted to offensive coordinator. Sometimes when guys are getting a lot of interviews, you got to keep them happy so they won't leave. We just saw with the Broncos situation where I mentioned Sean Payton gave up play calling for Davis Webb. So Sean McVay is not doing that with Nate Shieldhouse, saying you could be offensive coordinator, you get the label, you're not calling plays, but you just saw Michael LaFleur get a head coaching job as my OC. So do you want to stay? He took it. So I can't wait to see what they do with him. And then obviously you got Kliff Kingsbury, who I think Kingsbury was almost a Rams coach not too long ago before he went to USC to coach Caleb Williams. But you have Shieldhouse, you got Sean McVay, you got Kingsbury offensively. It's going to be a very interesting look. And a lot of times when you have too many cooks in the kitchen, it could be chaotic. But when you have a guy in Sean McVay who has a pulse on keeping the right ingredients, getting enough information, where he's still the guy who says, I like that, I hate that, and people respect it, that's going to make it work. Because I think I could compare it to what happened to the Panthers. I think it was Bryce Young's rookie year in 2023, where David Tepper just hired this star-studded cast of coaches, and it got blown up in 2 months. So I don't see that happening with Sean McVay.
Yeah, and the same thing happened with the Raiders last year, where they went and they hired a bunch of dudes instead of letting the coach hire his own people, and that can be detrimental to the team going forward. So having an all-star coaching staff isn't going to get you, the results, but the fact that you have a Sean McVay where you can go and learn a lot from. I thought the one that's interesting is the Roberts Wood one. I'm glad that he's back. He's a big piece to what they built. Uh, when they got him from Buffalo, it changed the way they wanted to do things. And we've always talked about, that the other receiver, right? The one that's gonna do the dirty work. And we always thought of Robert Woods, like who's gonna play that Robert Woods position, and having him in the coach in the to be part of the coaching staff, to me it's really cool to kind of see and reward him. I honestly, like, if we get a chance to go to training camp, I kind of want to pick his brain if we get a chance to. I probably won't, but if anybody does get a chance to, any of the reporters, I would like to see what Robert Woods has to say, especially about the development of a lot of these guys and what they do with those young players.
Yeah, it's big. Obviously, he's starting his new journey as a coach. I think most recently he was with the Texans or the Titans. I lost track. He did not play last year. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, he got his retirement day with the Rams, and then sure enough, a couple days later, he got named the coach. So that was pretty cool for him. Must have been a very eventful week. But the biggest thing that you could expect from him, again, he's the new coach. I don't know much about what to expect, but if he's gonna do what he did as a player, then he's on the right path because he did everything. He did the dirty work. He was a willing blocker. He was willing to lay his body on the line for the benefit of his teammate. He was never a me first guy. He still got his touches and he got his targets and he made the most of them. But when they told him, hey, open up for Cooper Kupp, he said gladly. When they brought in Odell Beckham, he was ready to do that. I know he got hurt that year for the Super Bowl year. That was unfortunate. That was going to be a great trio: Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, OBJ. But stuff like that, man, he did not care as long as that they kept winning and he got to block and be on the field, part of the 11 personnel. He was always happy. So I think having that mindset and teaching that to the next generation of wide receiver is going to be big in the long run for his career.
Yeah, I'm with you. Before I get to the last thing I wanted to talk to you about, I want to get to this comment from Angel. He says, "What up, Compas? Long time no see. Neat Monday and Tuesday shows back." So
Yeah,
we were gonna let. Why don't you let people know what we're working on, and then why we've kind of been away for a couple weeks now.
Angel, we can't get a break. No, I'm kidding. It honestly feels like a long time, Angel. Like it's only been almost a month now. I think the
Yeah.
last time we did a show was right at the bye week of the Super Bowl, right? So that was around this time ago, a month ago, and we were supposed to do some at the Super Bowl. Obviously, we weren't able to do it live, but we did have a show posted from the Super Bowl with us four there and Graham. But we're all recovering. I know Fernando has some things in the works too that he's been busy. We've been busy with boxing. I'm busy here with the combine. But yeah, sometime in March, I don't know if it's the first week of March or the second week of March, but obviously before free agency kicks off,
Yep.
we're going to be up and running and discussing all that. That whole week, who knows how many shows we'll do. Maybe some late ones when I'm done with work to recap the day, maybe Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday kind of thing. But yeah, March with the free agency and then the draft, we'll be a little more consistent. And obviously after that, May and June, we get a little more quiet. But and before you know it, July and the football season are going to be here faster than you know it.
Yep, and yeah, it's gonna be here before you know, as you said. And then a couple more things here, and then we'll get out of here. l- uh, you know, it was announced that the Rams are going to travel to Australia. They're going to take on the 49ers. I have a, I asked, we ran into a couple, we ran into Quinn Lake at Radio Row. And he talked about, and I can't wait to share that little clip he told me about with the 49ers, because I think it's interesting what he had to say, because I hadn't even thought about it, but the fact that he said that, and I'll kind of give you a little bit of it here. He said that he saw that the reason that they picked the 49ers, the league did, was because of the 49er fans taking over SoFi, and that's why they're going all the way to Australia to take on the Rams, where you're making the 49ers fans have to travel all the way to Australia if they want to go see their team here in LA.
Yeah, and don't they have like a game in Mexico City?
Yep, they're
They
getting
travel
double,
to
and
the East
and and
Coast. Yeah,
and I heard that part of the reason is because the NFL wanted to put them on Hard Knocks, the 49ers, and instead they chose to take the foreign going to another the international game, sorry. So now they got two. They're going to both Australia, which it sounds like it's going to be the opening game. It's either going to be the that Wednesday or that Thursday of week 1 for Rams and 49ers, and then the 49ers are going to be in Mexico City. I would say somewhere in November would be my guess.
yeah. No guarantees on the Mexico game right now after everything that's going on. By the way, so
Yeah,
we'll see.
yeah, we'll see what
I hope that
happens with
changes
that.
though. I want to
Yeah.
make it out there.
Yeah, and then you got the World Cup too with everything that's going on. Just a couple more things here. Rams announced that they've re-signed veteran offensive tackle Devin Quisenberry, a 20-year deal. But what I really wanted to get to here, Gilbert, is Stafford wins the MVP award and announces he is playing next season. And I got this quote from our friend Adam Grossbar of the OC Register News, and Leslie said, quote, if Matthew Stafford decides to come back, there will be an element. Let's definitely make the most of the time we have with Matthew. The type of season that he showed he had, there's only so many of those left. So it sounds like are we going to start? Does that mean we're doing the F them picks again, or are they just going to be more aggressive? What's your takeaway from that?
Yeah, honestly, that was my last impression of this 2025 Rams team. I'm like, you got to go somewhat to the F them picks model. Uh, you know, not fully because it's only for 1 year, but if this 1 year you feel that optimistic about winning a Super Bowl, then go for it. Like they were that good, they were that close. They were 2 point conversion away from, I guess, 2 point conversion stoppage away from being the number 1 seed in the NFC to having maybe the game and the NFC title game be in Los Angeles. Who knows? They could have been the Super Bowl winners. They would have definitely beat up on the Patriots. Let's keep it
Yep.
real. The Patriots were not good. But yeah, they were that close to making it. So to me, why not go get a cornerback? I don't know who's going to be that cornerback on the market this year. It's also it's a good cornerback class, but it's not a superstar cornerback class. So you don't make moves to get one who's not a superstar. So I don't know. Maybe there's a trade out there. Maybe
Let me give you a comment here, and it's from Brett Gardner. Good to see Brett Gardner on here. It said, I can see a late first rounder for McDuffie. My only issue with McDuffie is that he's more of a slot
yes,
than he is an outside guy, and he got exposed as an outside guy this year. So that is my only concern with, and I don't think he's worth the number 1 pick. But that is just me. I could be wrong, Gilbert.
Brett. That's the name I've been seeing a lot on the trade market because the Chiefs don't have that much money to pay everybody. And McDuffie, you're right, Vic. I totally agree with you. I think he's a better slot cornerback. I think he holds his own as a number 1 outside, but he had a lot of ups and downs. It wasn't the best year defensively for him, but he's had some All Pro years. I think he made first team All Pro as a slot, second team All Pro as an outside. So he's talented, but
Yeah.
I don't know if he's first round talented. So to me, I wouldn't do it for him. And also we just saw what happened to Sauce Gardner in the Colts last year. He got hurt. You give 2 first round picks. It looks bad. So it's always going to be a gamble. But to me, that's why I say with some hesitation, yes, go back to the old ways of saying F them picks for whatever that right fit could be. But with some caution, because it's going to be 1 year and that's it. And it's now or never. But they are talented. So I think being aggressive, to me, I would not mind it. But then again, they've been successful, like I mentioned, wild card, divisional round, NFC title game. Maybe keep staying on the path that you're on, because you know what's next, Super Bowl.
Yep, I'm with you, and be aggressive. And I guess the last thing here, Gilbert, before we go, you and I have had a couple of conversations. We were on the same page. We talked about Matthew Stafford and why he deserved. And I guess we all got to see that he deserved it in the Super Bowl after we saw Drake May get just exposed throughout the playoff season and what Matthew Stafford did against that Seahawks defense in the last two games, and then seeing Drake May just struggle against that same defense just kind of like put the cherry on top as to why we were both on, and it wasn't just bias. It's just like I understand, and you called it out. So I want to end with the whole MVP discussion that you and I had, but you made a great point in terms of why that was that Drake May was getting so much love. So I'll give you the floor here.
Yeah, I got to head out soon, so I
Yeah.
won't go off on a rant,
No.
and I want to,
Yeah.
and I really do,
Yeah.
Vic, because there's a lot that I want to say here. Because the MVP, let's just say it, the MVP criteria is based on trends and it changes year to year, which I hate. It shouldn't be like that. And there are years where people say it should be all about most valuable, like the word valuable, and that, but people never care about that. When I say people, the voters, and obviously the pundits who have their big shows on ESPN and whatever, they always neglect valuable. So the criteria has been, which is unofficially, has been best quarterback among the playoff teams. So if you're in the playoffs and you're a star quarterback, guess what? You're going to be an MVP candidate. Even this year, just to get 5 names, they threw in Trevor Lawrence because you needed a quarterback on a playoff team. And I'm like, really, Trevor Lawrence? Even Justin Herbert got a first place MVP vote. And I know people here are Charger fans, but I don't think Justin Herbert should have got a first place vote. Being top 5 MVP candidate, sure, that's fine. But that's the criteria. It's like if you're a quarterback, you're a star quarterback, and your team is winning, you're going to get a look. And then suddenly this year, we shifted the narrative to, and right before I even go into that, for sure, the best quarterback among the playoff teams was Matthew Stafford, without hesitation. But for whatever reason, we're starting to debate not to go back to valuable. Oh, well, Drake May was on a crappy team. The team won 4 games last year. You take away Drake May, they're a bad team. They're 4 wins again. He's valuable, and I'm like, why are all of a sudden we're caring about value? I thought it was about the best quarterback on one of the playoff teams, and now that doesn't matter. Like, and then if you want to go with that argument, valuable, sure, which I've always been pushing for it. Valuable. You take away Matthew Stafford from the Rams, they are also a non-playoff team. I get it. Puka and Devontae are there. That secondary is horrendous. Sorry, Rams fans. That special teams was horrendous. I don't need to apologize about that. So Stafford averaging 35 points per game because the defense was terrible. He was carrying that team. So to me, whatever argument you want to talk about, it was always Matthew Stafford. So to me, I don't get it. It was one of the frustrating ones. And then I started thinking about it, and I think I told you this, Victor. Maybe it's the whole West Coast, East Coast bias, and I don't want it to be that reason because these games are at freaking 4 p.m. East Coast. Don't be falling asleep, East Coast. Watch the Rams play. I get primetime games. You weren't watching the Seahawks and the Rams because the game was at 11 p.m. at night, and you didn't see how good Matthew Stafford was. Maybe that could be it. I don't know. But it was a head-scratching year for MVP talk.
Yeah, and it was such a weird season too, Gilbert. We talked about it with all the teams kind of flip-flopping. You had a lot of the bad teams the last few years kind of rise to the top and win the division. But I just never understood it. I'm like, what am I missing? And it was like a lot of the nerd stats, which I've been a big fan of. But this year it was just like you guys are way out there now. Like it's just getting out of control. And I get it. Like I understand that you'll listen to someone like myself who's an old man and be like, you're just, you're still going through the old stats and stuff like that, where you see him leading the league in touchdowns and passing yards and blah, blah, blah. But you got to look at what he did, and EPA and, DVOA and all that stuff. And I do throw it into consideration. But my eyes told me that he was especially what he did against the Seahawks. And we're talking about not in the playoffs. We're talking about in Seattle on a short week. That to me was impressive. So, but that's the show here, Gilbert. It's good to be back. It's good to be talking football again. You're at the combine. Can't wait. Make sure you're following Gilbert at G Manzano 24 on X. You can follow him on Blue Sky. He's gonna have a lot of stuff out there. He's gonna talk to people at the podium. The players are gonna be made available the next couple of days. So make sure you're following him on Sports Illustrated as well, MMQB. He's got a couple of stories out there. Gilbert, what are you working on, and what are you looking forward to the next couple of days here at the combine?
Yeah, check out my store at si.com that I posted today. It's kind of more of it's kind of like a blog for me where my sights and sounds of what I've been noticing and what I see. And, I try to have fun with it. Like I know I complain about the weather, but, just what I heard from John Spytek, what I heard from Ben Johnson, what I heard from Jeff Halfley. And it's funny because Ben Johnson had that like look after you go through your first year as a head coach. He looked like he had the big, what's it called? The sleeping
Hey,
bags under
your
his
light?
eyes.
Yeah.
He looked pretty beat up. He wasn't as
Yeah.
refreshed as a year ago. He wasn't that new kid. It was like, I want to beat Matt LaFleur. Like he was just like, like he was a little dead. And then you get Jeff Halfley, the first year coach, who looked just energized, ready to go and prove himself as a new coach. So it's funny how much of a toll it takes on you. But yeah, little small details like that. I like to have fun with it, and obviously give you some news. Obviously, with the things with the Raiders, the Raiders were very newsy. Max Crosby, Fernando Mendoza, John Spytek has not even spoken to Geno Smith, so they gave me a lot of that. But overall, check out what I do with the blog there, and yeah, maybe I'll get a couple interviews later this week. We'll see, but I am looking forward to the player interviews. They are more accessible. They are more willing to answer questions truthfully. They're not playing games out there. So that's my thing. I'm big on that, getting to know these players and sharing their story.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm gonna be on the lookout. I honestly don't know what the Rams are gonna be looking for. I'll keep an eye on the offensive lineman. Who knows? I feel like they're gonna draft another tight end. Still don't know if Tyler Higbee. We know for sure Leslie loves his running back, so make sure you keep an eye
Yeah.
on the running backs. I think it's been three
Not the
straight
first round, but yeah.
yeah. Somewhere in the draft, he's gonna draft a running back. He won't play him that first season.
Yeah.
But they're gonna draft one. So a lot to look forward to this off season. But thank you, Gilbert, for joining us here live from Indianapolis, somewhere in a hotel room there. We'll be back. We'll keep you guys posted. But it's just good to be back talking football again. Gilbert, have a good trip out there, and we'll be back in a couple weeks. We'll see where we're at. If we get any news from the Rams, we'll hop on, do a little short pod. But we don't want to, if there's no news, we don't just want to fill dead air here, Gilbert.
Yeah. And you were saying where I am. I'm actually across the street from where the Indiana Pacers play basketball, whatever, something field house. There's a game going on right now. I could probably watch the game from my window. I thought about going. It was like $8 tickets. I guess the Pacers are not doing well this year,
No, it's a gap year because Tyrese Halliburton got hurt last year.
I would have gone, but I got a busy evening here. But yeah, it's kind of funny to see the Pacers outside my window. But yeah, there's a game going on. They're playing the Sixers. Maybe I'll go to another game next time. But yeah, it's cool to be down here in Indy. It's a very nice downtown. I just hate the weather.
Yeah, there you go, Gilbert. All right, Gilbert, get us out of here. Let's start of a new season here, 2026 Rams NFL season.
Yeah, let's move on here with the off season. It's gonna end very quickly. So let's try to enjoy some of the slow paced time and break down the draft, free agency, the NFL schedule leak, training camp, all that stuff here in the next 4 to 5 months. But it's time to get going. Nos vamos, pues, vámonos.